Well, hello Internet, gothatfunk here once again, and another video on the subject of Thursday's Supreme Court ruling in the case Citizens United versus the Federal Election Commission. My friend Lazlo was kind enough to do a response to my video, Democracy in the USA, last night. And Lazlo makes a few really good points in the comments section of my video and made a really good video response. I'm going to link in the sidebar, and obviously I'll make this a response to it anyway. I recommend that you watch Lazlo's video. It's very thoughtful and he makes some good points. Now Lazlo, you and I absolutely agree that it's the responsibility of the Supreme Court to interpret the law as it is written. I didn't mean to suggest or imply that I think it's the job of the Supreme Court justices to read between the lines or whatever. I noticed in comments on my video yesterday you had a brief exchange with the ancient atheist, and John was saying to you that the Supreme Court justices have it within their remit to consider the original intent of the framers of the Constitution when it comes to how they rule on particular cases. You didn't disagree with that, and I think you guys are both right. However, you mentioned the 10th Amendment. And Lazlo, I have to say that I agree, the 10th Amendment as well as the 9th Amendment taken in tandem come into play here, but I frankly think that they could have been used for the court to decide the other way, should they have done so. Now, for those people who are obviously not American or who haven't looked at these things for a long time, I'm going to read out the 9th Amendment, talk a little bit about that, read out the 10th Amendment, talk a little bit about that, and then tell everyone why I think that these amendments could have been considered more robustly by the court. The 9th Amendment states, "The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people." Now, to put that in plain modern language, that basically means that things like freedom of speech and freedom of the press and freedom of religion and so on, which are guaranteed in the earlier part of the Bill of Rights, that what this 9th Amendment means is those aren't the only rights we have. It's just that those are the rights that the Bill of Rights says, constitutionally speaking, that Congress can't fuck with. Other rights that not mentioned in this, the people have until and unless Congress or states make laws against them, and that's where the 10th Amendment comes into play. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited it by the states, are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people. Now, one of the things that the people are granted the right for in the United States of America is the right to cast a vote in elections. Corporations, unions, churches, NGOs, they don't get a vote. Individuals get a vote. And I think when you take the 9th and 10th Amendment together, as well as the Constitution as a whole entity, as a whole document, it's arguable, I think, to consider that the original intent was to give as much power to the people first and the states, and then the federal government lastly. This basically implies to me that the original intent of the whole document is to empower citizens, individuals, as much as possible. And again, because corporations and other large institutions don't get a vote in elections, should they really be given the rights of individuals in that way? I think it would have been within the scope of the court to have nullified the status of corporations as having the exact same rights as individuals. And then we could have, there would have been subsequent case after case after case delineating what sorts of rights the corporations did have and what sorts of responsibilities they had, which were not given to them, but which are given to individuals. Obviously, that would have opened up a huge can of worms, and I respect that, but this one, the way they ruled, also opens up a huge can of worms. I know I mentioned this in my earlier video to the reprieve, but I'm just going to say it to you as well, Lazlo, because I think it's worth mentioning that in a 5-4 decision, it's not really clear-cut. Also, the fact that the Supreme Court justices were going to rule on this back in August, but they didn't. They couldn't make up their mind, and so they asked the protagonists on both sides to come back and re-argue the case. which they did, and then they came with this ruling that we've got now. So I think if it was clear-cut, they wouldn't have had to come back and argue it a second time. And if it was clear-cut, if it was obvious that this was the only way they could have ruled, I respectfully suggest that there would have been a greater majority than a 5-4 majority. So food for thought, chew on that, let me know what you think. Comments are fine, but a video response is always really, really appreciated. Thank you for watching, and may all your ups and downs be ups.